Yo, what up, guys? It's the PWP podcast. I'm Dalton. That's Cam. We're gonna be you guys' hosts for a little bit, so just sit down, relax, grab some popcorn. Ain't nothing to it. We got a few topics we want to talk about today and introduce who we are and what we're gonna do.
Yeah, we've been wanting to do something like this for a very long time. We're both big wrestling fans. We have been since we were little kids, and we've known each other since we were little kids. So to not only have this kind of like bonding experience of producing something, putting something together, and doing it as a team is kind of a cool thing because
Big deal.
yeah, because we both have such uh big opinions and feelings and emotions towards wrestling, and so to finally actually do something with it is really cool.
Went from talking about like what wrestlers we had over one another as a kid to this.
Yeah, literally.
Talking about our old cars that had bright green hair and everything in the world in wrestling games, and
Yeah.
to being able to actually have a platform to express, what we've had for the last, kindergarten,
Yeah,
something like
pretty
that.
much. Yeah. We want to get this started. We're going to talk about some actual like current wrestling that's going on right now. Some AEW stuff, some Raw after Backlash stuff, some Raw after the Backlash after WrestleMania. Um, but yeah, we're gonna get to that eventually. But we first wanted to, I guess, essentially let you all get a feel for the kind of fans we are and the our experiences with wrestling that leads us to being such marks that we are now. So, Dalton, do you want to start or do you want me to?
Yeah, let's get into it. How'd we get started?
Yeah.
With me, like, really, I got introduced first through the games, and my first game was SmackDown versus Raw, the original SmackDown versus Raw, 2005.
PS2.
Yeah,
Yeah.
PlayStation 2. Grinding on it. I remember I made a knockoff character of Edge called Rick, who we'll see more of eventually. But it's been a long time coming for this podcast, because I can think back on all these good times I've had with wrestling. Like watching, I went from watching Rey Mysterio, John Cena, all those boys. It's Friday night SmackDown, waking up every morning. Can't wait till 8 o'clock at night. Can't freaking wait.
Oh yeah.
I'm not excited, wanting to hear, Vince come down there and throw some random, or Teddy Long go down there, come down there and throw some random
Tag team match, player.
yeah, throw something on there that's just crazy out of this loop. Getting excited, never know, what was coming next, and it's life for me. I grew up on it.
I think that was a part of the enjoyment too as a kid that you do kind of lose as you get older with it, is that because you're a kid, and even if you had the internet and you were able to look online for things, you really didn't know. Like Monday and Friday was what you had to go off
a
of.
whole lot different. We ain't got, like back then we didn't have WAP culture. We didn't have, WrestleMania. We couldn't go watch, the news or whatever, catch up on it. We, if you were going to know what was happening in the wrestling world, you had to watch it every night, and then once you did, you got sucked in, and then you end up like nerds like us. So
Yeah, like
sitting in my basement recording a podcast about wrestling.
Yeah, if Taker was backstage, we know that now. Like if it's reported hours earlier that Taker is seen backstage, we know maybe something's going to happen, a segment or something. Back then, if Taker was announced for the main event, you were like, "Huh? What?" And it's a awe-inspiring moment.
We're kind of fueling that fire a little bit when you think about it. Because, we're putting something out that's like talking about stuff that's speculation, but ends up usually becoming true.
Yeah.
But I hope we can, for people, we can bring
Yeah.
back that, remind them of those times when they didn't know CM Punk was in the stadium. They didn't know somebody was coming back. Think about those good times. But it's not all just about that. There's a lot more in wrestling today than we had back then. There's a whole lot more people doing it. There's a lot more competition, almost WCW levels.
Yeah, and there's so much more exposure now. It's almost for a very long time it was niche to be a wrestling fan, and it's like past post Attitude Era, everything past that was niche to be a wrestling fan, and now it's sort of like it's a cultural thing again. Thankfully through YouTube. Honestly, I feel like YouTube, and I really attribute it a lot to New Japan when Bullet Club first started up. It got so much exposure. And yes, they did sell a lot of T-shirts and merch and stuff, but they were putting in work in the ring, and they were so different.
Deservingly selling T-shirts, people were buying them for a reason.
Yeah, exactly. And it just
we're living in the after effects of that right now.
Yeah,
hopefully it goes a good place, which I believe it will.
Yeah, it just took off so much that I mean, I'm not gonna lie. After I want to say probably after about 2012, 2013, maybe, I fell out of wrestling. That was I feel like everyone does have that period where they're just like, I don't really care about wrestling
anymore. For a while.
Yeah.
I think that kind of happened when, right before I had my son a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
I fell out of it a little bit, and I had to get right back in it about a year later.
Yeah.
You don't have time for it, but it's always good to go back to it because it's something that it stays with you. You find yourself even in those moments where you're not watching something or you're not keeping up with it. You look and you're thinking, that's funny. That dude got super kicked.
Yeah, and that's what for me is like, speaking on a personal note. Like, that's what Bullet Club was for me, because still even when I had quit watching, like, I didn't know that there were, for me, the only three promotions I knew of was WWE, TNA, and Ring of Honor. I didn't know that over in Japan they were literally putting on 5-star classics every single, almost every single pay-per-view in the Tokyo Dome or wherever. And then when I started seeing, Bullet Club shirts and just stuff like that, and I was like, what is that?
Didn't have proper television exposure at that point in time. Yeah. Now it obviously does.
Yeah.
But most of those guys that we do remember in that era or are in larger corporations, to say the least.
Yeah, they thanks to I feel like you can't just attribute it to Bullet Club, but because you also have Kashu. You have like Okada. Got
that thing, the light. It had the light bulb popping in your head.
It's like, what got you into
maybe
it.
I should, get right.
But and then you had people like Naito and Okada and people that are true New Japan guys that you through Bullet Club, because you're naturally attracted to them because it's like, oh, they're the outsiders. That's kind of cool. And then through that you find these other amazing wrestlers, and now they're like, they're amongst some of the greatest that you know of, and it's pretty epic.
My big thing really was AEW. That's cliche, I guess, but I get on there, and the first thing I see is Darby Allin coffin dropping somebody or doing something stupid, jumping off a truss and onto somebody on a table, or it might be a little cliche, but it genuinely felt like something I would have seen as a kid.
Yeah,
it brought me back. It was one, like the Jeff Hardy moments and stuff like that.
It did feel a lot. Once I feel like once AEW hit, that was when I was just fully addicted again. It to see Cody go from Dave Meltzer tweeting out that he could never book a show that would sell out, and it selling out in, I think, like under 3 minutes.
Yeah,
the Bullet Club show. And then to see it go from that to, okay, Double or Nothing, okay, about AEW, and just to see it progress like that it's inspiring. And even though, you'll start to learn this about me a little bit later, as the episodes progress, I am a little salty at Cody. You got to do what's best for you, but it did kind of sting seeing him go back to WWE after he did so much for the industry.
I don't understand.
Yeah, he is loving the Cody stuff.
I hate it. I feel like he left a lot behind, but at the same time, I understand why he did it. I get it.
As the huge AEW mark, I did feel like
betrayal.
Yeah, which I guess that's
not too bad because he came back as himself.
Yeah,
and he's. at least WWE acknowledges his legacy that he did leave in AEW. I mean, they ain't gonna plain out say, this and that, but
But even to go as far as letting him be on the Stone Cold podcast and talk about his time in the Indies and what he did is, I mean,
they've mentioned him up.
Yeah. I mean, there are little things that
give me hope for the future of a potential invasion and/or war, but we'll talk about that on a different episode.
Yeah, it's cool though. It is cool. Talking about the memories though, what are some of like your earliest like actual match memories or show memories?
Earliest match memories. Oh boy.
It doesn't even have to be early. It's just ones that come to mind from your childhood.
Come to mind from my childhood. I actually, one that always stuck out to me, and I don't know why. I love The Miz. I don't know why I love The Miz. He's not the greatest in-ring performer. He doesn't do anything super crazy. I mean, he's all around safe.
With those promo skills.
Safe worker. He always pissed me off royally as a child.
Yeah.
And him and John Cena, the feud, even though that was one of the worst WrestleMania matches of all time, arguably the worst, I liked it. It made me. I don't think he should have been. We won't talk about the other, the burying of some of his potential teammates, but the feud itself between him and John, that was one that really hit home for me.
That's one that I remember thinking instantly because of the presence of The Rock and stuff like that. Even though it wasn't there, it was as a kid, it was in the back of my head, like, Rock gonna come back? Because the thing that I think me and you both share is that as we started to learn more about wrestling and progress with our addiction to wrestling, there are certain people that we didn't get to see live. We might have, but we were too young to remember seeing Stone Cold or The Rock live, and we missed that. And so, even though it wasn't confirmed, seeing them on TV anytime they make a return, you're like, possibility now.
Which, now we can go back. And,
yeah.
We got YouTube now. We ain't worried about it.
but
I know what you mean. Potential return on that. Just like Stone Cold coming back for the one-off with Kevin Owens. That was something a lot of kids, even though they've never, some kids might not even heard of Stone Cold, which I mean they should have, but they that's something for them to remember. They'll know, okay, so this is who Dad's talked about.
Yeah.
This is who my older brothers talked about.
That
okay, I see why I likes this guy. I'm glad there's those moments that are like that for this next generation.
Yeah, because that's how seamless segue there, but that's literally how I got into wrestling. Was funny enough, my as you can see the figures on the table here, I've always been into action figures, and my dad and my grandpa both loved wrestling, and I really never was interested. Like, I knew of it, I knew they watched it, I knew every Monday and every Friday the TV became theirs, but I never really, it didn't gravitate towards me until I was gifted a Ruthless Aggression, back when Jax had the license for WWE figures, a Ruthless Aggression 2-pack of John Cena and Triple H. And I remember it came with the title, and Triple H had a sledgehammer. And I opened it up, and I was like, what is this? And my dad starts telling me about Triple H and how awesome he is, and how, like, John Cena's the new guy. Like, he is that new stepping stone. He's the next Hulk Hogan. He's the next Austin. And so from that, I was like, okay, well, I want to watch some matches with you. And I can't remember, like, directly what my first memory was, but one that I can't ever forget.
It's hazy.
Yeah,
it's that one that stuck out to you. It really drug you in.
Yeah,
rather than the one that because I'm sure we've all sat there and watched when we were kids, sit there and just like watched a random episode of SmackDown. Yeah. But then you'll see a match and you're like, okay, I really like this. I want to go put a Rey Mysterio mask on. 619 people.
For me, it was a 2008 episode of Raw, and it was just before No Way Out at the time was what it was called, but it was the Elimination Chamber pay-per-view. And the main event, I think it was the main event, might have went on second to last, but it was Shawn versus Jeff Hardy. And it was really, really great. Like, just the look of Shawn and Jeff and how they carried themselves. At the time, I didn't know what this was because I believed it was real, but the selling from both guys, I mean, they sold just amazingly for one another, and it felt so real.
Man, how does Shawn bounce like that?
But when you're a kid,
God, Jeff must be strong.
when you're a kid, you watch that and you think, Jesus, they're killing one another.
He did a half backflip and landed on top of the turnbuckle from one smack.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
But just something about it, especially Jeff's entrance and stuff, that sealed the deal. And then
you want it face paint after that.
Yeah,
face paint hair dye. I want purple hair. You can't have purple hair.
Mm-hmm. And then the true, in my opinion, like what fully there was no going back after this was me asking my dad, "Who's your favorite wrestler?" And it was the most amazing childhood experience of him explaining to me The Undertaker. And I mean, The Undertaker in my household was a legendary name because my grandfather, again, was into wrestling as well. And so you had that dynamic of both of them telling me about Taker, and I never got to see him. And the reason was because I didn't know what SmackDown was yet.
Yeah.
So I just knew Raw, and Taker was exclusive to SmackDown. And so one day I finally flipped through the channels on a Friday night, and I seen Friday Night SmackDown. And I was like, what is that? Clicked on it, and it was the last little bit of the show. I cannot remember who Taker was facing. Part of me wants to say maybe like Chavo, because that would have been right around that feud with Edge and the Edgeheads and his faction at the time. But he was the scariest and most amazing and the most badass human being I had ever seen. And after that, I was fully hooked. I couldn't get enough wrestling. Every time it was on, I even started watching WWE's version of ECW, which was god awful, but I needed wrestling. I was addicted. So that is what really drove it home for me.
Like, with me, I don't remember if we had it on tape or how I seen it, but one of my favorite ones was, we was going to talk about later, but the Jeff Hardy and Undertaker match. Mm-hmm. I seen it as a kid. I don't remember how I seen it. Yeah, it was it was way before I was even old enough to really sit down and watch TV and understand it.
Pay attention to it.
But as a somebody had it, and I watched it, and I kept watching it. I just watched it over and over again, and it made me think. Now that I'm saying it, it's like Undertaker really put over Jeff. And I was thinking, I was just thinking, I want Jeff to win. He's Undertaker's this big adversary. It's just he seemed like I wanted the underdog to win.
Yeah, that match was just
Jeff. So many people did good things for him, and I'm really glad that he's finally in the position to be able to end things the way he wants to end them. Demons aside, he's doing things the way he should be doing them.
Yeah,
which he was one of the wrestlers that was big part of my childhood. Jeff Hardy. I don't know how many beds I broke swantoning on him and breaking the box spring. I know I broke it twin bed in a full size at least. I don't know if I did any before I can remember, but we broke a trampoline, everything, trying to do crap Jeff Hardy did.
Yeah,
it's just I'd get on watch SmackDown, and he see him come out there with the face paint on. I'd go and get mom's makeup, and I start trying to draw crap on me with eyeliner, and as hectic as it was, for my parents, it was really one of them things that I knew I loved it. I knew it brought me happiness, especially, guys like Jeff, guys like Ray.
They became essentially like
even, Mark Henry, Big Show,
They essentially became heroes.
Yeah, superheroes. Yeah. I wasn't ever really big into comic books or stuff like that. Like you were, in a sense. That's really what I had. Mm-hmm. I had I had Goku, and I had
Yeah, wrestling.
Then I had John Cena.
Yeah.
You know, those guys. Like, I remember running around the house screaming, "Well," yeah, I want to. I love the Big Show, even though he turned heel over. He always ended up punching somebody really nice in the face randomly. Wrestling, as you guys can tell, is really really important to us.
Mm-hmm.
It's something that we've put a lot of time into.
Yeah.
So we're really happy to be able to have a format where we can just sit here and, as bros, just talk about it rather than, try and be fake about it or, try to.
Yeah, because because of our age, I'm 21, he's 20 right now. We're
odd.
Yeah, we're in the era of what people consider trash WWE
post
Attitude Era. Yeah, everything past Attitude Era
post
is
WCW,
just
post Kevin Nash, all those boys.
Is supposed to be awful.
I love them, but at the same time, I can go back and watch their matches these days and watch the storylines these days, and I love them. Don't get me wrong, I love them. I pay all respects to them, but nothing hits home like thinking about the good old days of like SmackDown vs. Raw 2008. Watching Edge spear Rey Mysterio.
It's just one of those things. If you were a kid of the 80s, then you're going to idolize Hulk Hogan. You're going to be like, they don't make it like they used to. If you're from the 90s, you're going to idolize Stone Cold and The Rock and Triple H. And you're going to see the Attitude Era as peak wrestling. There's nothing better than that. And for us, we grew up in the Ruthless Aggression Era, and before recording, we were literally talking about it. But the Attitude Era had crazy storylines. The matches were kind of second place, but the stories were there front and center, and most of the time they were amazing stories. Some of them not acceptable anymore, but some of them were really good and very memorable. And modern wrestling has the best wrestling you've ever seen, arguably. And I feel like physically, but I feel like the Ruthless Aggression Era is that perfect in between. You had these wild storylines like Eddie and Ray, two of the greatest wrestlers to ever lace up a pair of boots, fighting over the custody of a child in a ladder match. Like, that's insane, but the match is great. The botch aside with the Vicky thing, the match is wonderful. It is a great ladder match. There are great spots. There's emotion in it. And
it still affects Dom to this day.
It's still. I just love how in WWE lore, in WWE canon,
I love Dominic Mysterio.
Dominic Guerrero, because technically he was adopted by Ray.
He's really good for his age, man.
He really is great.
I know he's not like one of these dudes that are in AEW, like Jungle Boy, for example, has great technical skill. But for his age, you got to think, youngest champion, still Randy Orton, right? In WWE,
I think so.
Still Randy Orton. You got to think he's not even that age yet, and he's doing the things he's doing, and he's that much bigger than Ray, and still doing the things Ray does. It almost reminds me of Montez Ford,
and he has that kind of like. He wants to prove himself. It's.
I'm not just Ray's son. I'm me. I can do my own thing.
With the match against Brock, I think it was when he caned the hell out of him. Dom took his licks there.
Oh, Seth, yeah.
Yeah, and it was great.
Seth and we don't talk.
Yeah. But just the way that he was destroyed was. It was. You can make an argument that it was too much, but at the same time, I feel like that was his way of showing that, hey, I'm serious about this.
I'm paying my dues.
Yeah,
I know I'm here. I know most people don't like it that I'm here, but I'm here, and I'm good old saying the Undertaker used to say, he's one tough SOB.
Yeah. Okay.
He showed it.
Speaking of these different wrestlers, what would you say? It doesn't have to be in any particular order or anything like that, but what would you say when you think of wrestling, what are your favorite wrestlers that just come to mind?
Favorite wrestlers that come to mind. If we're talking about old school, listen, I'm a big fan of the Stinger Splash. I know it's simple, but Sting is he's an entertainer I mean, he comes out and he looks like this big serious dude. Then he gets in the ring and does something funny.
Yeah.
But then his ability, like,
I will take the Scorpion Deathlock over the
Figure Four.
over. Yeah, I like it more. I do.
I like Sting more than Brett. I'm
Yeah.
not a big Brett guy.
Yeah.
As controversial as that sounds, I'm not a big Brett guy.
You know, love Brett's in ring work.
You know, screw's a screw job, but at the same time, I'm also more of a Shawn fan.
Little plug. Eventually, I think we got it scheduled for probably a week or two after this one goes live. We have a whole episode dedicated to was the screw job a work, because there's a lot of evidence that
it was work.
Yeah, put your conspiracy theory hats on.
I mean,
you know, your
WCW.
Yeah. Your tinfoil hats will need to be on.
I'm sure there's some legal issues there, but if they didn't occur, then it was really separate.
Yeah, but
it's like saying, well, I mean, I could, you could look at me from the standpoint of, well, it's like saying AEW is Vince's project.
Mm-hmm.
But
anyways, favorite wrestlers, because we got a whole episode dedicated to that.
Favorite wrestlers, like I say, old Sting. I love the Icon. He's my boy. Modern day, like in today's day, I really liked what Sammy Guevara was doing before the whole Conti thing.
Yeah.
I don't like that angle. I mean, no offense to them. It ain't nothing on them. It's just kind of like, it don't feel like the badassery that Sammy brought beforehand. Now it kind of seems like he's just kind of mellowed out a little bit.
In my opinion,
the last thing I can remember him doing that I really was like, oh, that's awesome, was the Cody match, and now all this is.
In my opinion, when it comes to real life relationships in wrestling, the only one that actually truly ever worked on screen was Elizabeth and Macho Man. But and the Edge Lita stuff. That's just because it was awful.
Yeah, it was terrible. That should never have been. But like modern day, I'm a big Darby mark, but then I feel like I'm just pairing Darby and Sting.
Yeah.
So I'm not gonna go with Darby. What do we got? I really like Matt Riddle.
Riddle's interesting.
I don't know if I'd call him a modern day wrestler. He's been around a lot longer than most people know. He did some indie work that was really, really good.
I seen What Culture Pro Wrestling when they were a thing. He had a match against Cody, and he wrestled. He put Cody in a lock with his foot.
Yeah.
But it was interesting. It was interesting to see.
I really like Riddle, and I feel like he's a good. I know that's kind of what they're setting him up for. Is kind of he's getting this big deep storyline for Randy. I know they're kind of setting him up to be the next Randy without actually being Randy, with having his own persona. Yeah. The whole bro thing, but I like Riddle overall. But I might just be more biased on his personality. He's a good dude outside of.
He's very likable. He has that
likable person.
Yeah, he does have that kind of I could see him as a heel, but at the same time he does kind of have that Ray Jeff feeling where
up and coming. I'd say modern day John Moxley, but up and coming, the dude that's training with John Moxley, Wheeler Yuta. I feel like he's gonna be because he's bouncing all around the ring, but he's right now he's working with a very technical wrestler and a very brutal brawler.
Yeah,
and I feel like you can see it in his matches. He's doing more of that grounded stuff while also still incorporating those flips and stuff that a lot of people don't like, but that's really, really it's adding to it.
Yeah, it adds to the story of his progression.
It's adding to what he's
essentially becoming this fusion between John Moxley and Bryan Danielson with the leadership of William Regal, and that just sounds monstrous.
Sorry about that abrupt cut. Somebody pulled up in a really loud truck.
It was Dalton's dad.
It was my dad. Okay.
I think.
Where'd we leave off?
I think we were talking about favorite wrestlers. I think.
Yeah, favorite wrestler. Who was my last? Oh, John Mox. Oh, Wheeler Yuta is where we left off.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Which
Okay.
I think I finished that one up.
Yeah. Think so. In terms of me for wrestling, it's kind of a mixed bag because when I got really into wrestling, when I got really into it, I started searching and watching different things. And because of my grandpa, he always he kept VHS tapes of a lot of the old Manias, the In Your House shows and things like that. So for me, for some reason, always just the most captivating wrestler that has ever really sparked my interest was the Macho Man Randy Savage. He is just so different. He's so different from that time period and now.
And the man makes some good beef jerky.
But it's like just the way that he constructed his matches, the way that he constructed his promos, everything was so elegant in this weird, barbaric kind of way. And I mean that in
one of the few that, instead of just going out there every night and coming up with something or handed a piece of paper with something to say on it, it really seemed like he was one of the ones that he sat there in his room and he thought about what I'm going to do next. Everything was calculated.
Mm-hmm. Even if it was, something crazy off the wall, like, cup of coffee in the morning. Oh, yeah. It was still just so you don't forget it. It's stuck in your head forever.
And even not everything was really, not everything was calculated. On the fly, he was a really good wrestler.
Yeah.
If he had to do something on the fly, he'd react like that.
Yeah.
Snap of a finger.
So Macho Man, if I was doing it in terms of ranking, Macho Man is at the top. For me, he always will be.
I didn't mention my favorite.
Oh, who would that be?
The one. The only. The mayor of Knoxville, Tennessee.
Kane.
Glenn Jacobs.
Oh, yeah.
Not Kane, Glenn Jacobs.
Yeah. Oh, okay. You don't like Kane. You prefer. Did you prefer him as Fake Diesel?
Yeah. No, my favorite one was what was he when he was the dentist?
Oh yeah. Isaac Yankem.
Isaac Yankem.
Isaac Yankem.
Yeah, I love me some Isaac Yankem. No, it's just, man, when he walked, I wasn't alive at the time, but I have, when I was a kid, I did, I had many opportunities to watch that match, the Shawn and Taker match, and when that music hit, and everything went red and dark, looking like the Fiend coming out there, but and then this man walks out and he looks like Michael Myers had birth with the devil.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting there going, as a kid, literally oh God, because I thought wrestling was real. I was like, that exists? In real life?
Monster.
That's scary. And I thought, Undertaker, other than the Big Show, I never really thought anybody would be bigger than the Undertaker. Gets in the ring, he's got an inch on him and a little head tilt, and I'm like, okay.
And Taker
I'm like, that's a real monster. That's not, that's not a person. That's an actual demon from hell. That is something that's actually not it. It was a very supernatural entrance and way to start.
Yeah, and the thing that is so great about Kane is, he can cut really good promos, but the coolest thing is you don't have to, if you hear anything, it's Dalton's kid.
My child running above us. Like I said, we're in a basement.
But,
it should be Kane. You probably won't.
Hopefully. But
I suck at editing.
But the way that just he told stories without cutting promos, especially in those first few years, just the ability to carry himself and the movements, the subtle but slow, methodic movements were just so great. Kane. He's not my top 5, but he is a great wrestler.
I'd say I don't think he's the greatest in ring of all time, but you never really hear about Kane hurting somebody or anything like that. Which that's not what I'm going off of. A great wrestler. It's just Kane's aura, that storyline, and just overall that character was, and even the way he built it, like I like bald Kane.
Yeah.
Even though he shaved his head for that. He has a full head of hair.
Mm-hmm.
He shaved his head for that. Right? Like the amount of dedication he put into building that character himself instead of wanting other people to tell him what to do. He put a lot of time, a lot of thinking into it. That's like kind of like going off what you said about Macho. In ring, they'd have matches that weren't, super spectacular.
Yeah.
People doing backflips on the chairs and crap like that. But every time you watched it, you was like, I wonder what they're gonna do next. That was a person that stood out from the crowd. That was somebody that you look forward to. They were a household name, and it was somebody that I wouldn't really look up to Kane because he's a demon, but as a kid. John Cena was my superhero, but he was my super villain, even though he was Undertaker was a heel, so technically Kane's been a baby.
Yeah. But he's just so larger than life that you can't you just can't fathom it being in reality, and there he is in your face, and you see that and it's insane.
Executed perfect.
Yeah.
One of them things like people could argue that he was real, he was a real demon. Like, some crazy dude out there who believes the earth is flat is like, yeah, no, they replaced him with the dude who's the mayor in Tennessee. That's the real Kane. They sent him back to hell. Undertaker chokeslammed him through the ring, and when he did, the gates opened back up. It's something stupid like that.
But as far as other wrestlers that I've always followed and really liked, some more that just always stick out to me is Taker. Like I've said, he was just kind of like this
larger than life.
Yeah, larger than life. The aura around him, the way that my family talked about him.
Purple.
Yeah. Edge is another great one.
Listen, you can say all you want. Like I think Christian in ring is the better wrestler of the two, but Edge, God, the man could tell a freaking story.
Mm-hmm.
He could tell a story, and he could talk and talk and talk.
And it's so weird because I think when you're a kid, if you grew up watching Ruthless Aggression era, you hated Edge. Edge was the worst human being imaginable.
And now as you get older, when he comes back, you're like, you know all this other stuff. You know wrestling. Well, it isn't fake. People get hurt in it all the time, but it has a beginning and an end already predestined, and he comes back and it's like, oh, I don't dislike you anymore. That's my edgy boy. He's back.
And then even going back and watching older stuff, watch it and you're just like, damn, he is amazing. The story that this man is telling in the ring is bar none
the ultimate opportunity.
Yes, just every little event that happened with Edge was in a sense perfect.
It was weird when I was a kid. For some reason I liked Edge, but I don't know. I've always been more like the forte of like wrestlers I like. Have always been more freaks.
Yeah. Okay, I can see
people that are like obnoxious. That's what I like. Even though like The Miz made me angry, I liked The Miz even as a kid, just because I was like, dang, he is cool though.
Mm-hmm.
Like with Edge, I was like, God, he's making me mad, and he's yelling at little Ray. Ray didn't do nothing to him. Then I was like, dang, he's cool.
Someone that I feel like no matter how your opinions were, you couldn't dislike. Heel, face, doesn't matter. Eddie Guerrero. You cannot dislike
Not
that
a
man.
single person can dislike Guerrero.
The smile.
Doesn't matter what he does.
Every single time that man smiled, little kid me was like,
it's just pulling your leg.
Yeah, just to see it. When I would finally get to go back and watch some of the Eddie matches and stuff, little kid me knew exactly what was coming when I seen that smile. It is the most...
He lies. He cheats. He steals, but he's honest about it.
It's such a genuine smile, too. The ref falls down.
I wish we would have got more, because growing up, he was in that perfect time period. That, like Edge coming up from the 90s to the 2000s. Eddie coming up from the 90s to the 2000s. I feel like if we had more of him, he would have been one of these Edges that, maybe comes back a few years later and everybody's just going crazy, you know what I mean? It's sad that we won't get that, and that we didn't get those same, like I said, that 2000, like, 2007 to 2011. Those that vibe of matches with him in it. Imagine a John Cena Eddie Guerrero feud that was like serious.
Mm-hmm. It was like looking at Ray now coming back, and Ray is what you wouldn't consider in his prime age demographic anymore, but he doesn't miss a beat. He's if anything, he's more tuned. It's insane.
Yeah,
and
he jumps a lot higher now. I've noticed he put in some work.
And just to imagine what it would have been like to get
Don't need to hit the gym.
Just imagining Eddie if he had still been here with us,
what he would have been like.
Yeah, now it's insane.
Imagine Eddie, Dom, Ray, all three of them in the same company at the same time. Yeah. It's like it gives me goosebumps thinking about that. That's like, you know, the new game that come out, you know, 2K22. That the showcase really does get you thinking about things like that.
Yeah,
it's I don't know.
We definitely need to do an entire episode on wrestling video games. Yeah, that's a huge thing about us too.
That's definitely a topic that's coming now.
Yeah, that's a definite needs to be a thing because we love our wrestling games. Segueing into the latter part of the podcast, a little bit more quick. I know we probably stumbled on our words. We probably weren't as concise and
it's a podcast, baby.
Yeah, true. But when it comes to thinking about memories and discussion, I mean, it just becomes a discussion, and that's why I feel like that the first half is a little bit discombobulating. But now we're going to segue into just a little bit of news. We will cover wrestling topics and things like that, and we'll discuss things.
We'll go into more specifics on certain people. Like different episodes of the topic may just be about one wrestler and their path, what we think they're going to do. Mm-hmm. But this is just kind of like a general introduction to who we are, where we come from, what we like, what we're like, and what.
But the thing that we definitely don't want to do with the podcast is just be another wrestling recap. No. Nothing against them because I still to this day watch.
We want to be somebody that connect with fans more on their level rather than somebody who's above them and kind of feeding them information or giving their opinion. Mm-hmm. We're more like we're with you.
Yeah, we're not a news source. We're just two guys that love wrestling and want to talk about it.
We want other people to join in with us. We want to hear what other people have to say about certain topics. We want people to respond to us. Yeah, we want a comment might just get us like, give us a whole different freaking topic to talk about, just to open our minds a little bit. Like, dang, maybe we were wrong about this, or wow, that's a whole different option to what could end here. We're definitely not a news channel. We're more of a, come hang out, chill out, listen to us talk, and stumble over our words.
But talking about Raw a little bit, I bet RVD is a little bit salty over that whole 2006 debacle now, considering they have completely thrown out the door about their policies with marijuana at this point. It seems with the
41020 we just smoked.
Arcade Bro 420 says we just smoked your ass. Talking to the Street Profits. Later on in the night, they had a match for the tag titles and. Spot of the night has to go to Riddle hitting that amazing RKO. I mean, it was so precise. Now it's not going to be up there with one of the greats. Yeah, he sold it. If he wasn't
buried before, he's buried now.
Yeah, he sold that like a king though. It's not going to be. It's no Rollins RKO. It's not. It's but it's a really good. It's a really good RKO, and just like the namesake, it came out of nowhere.
And I'm glad that he's switching up a little bit, and that instead of doing all these really like the Bro Derek is very complicated. All of his or the Bro to Sleep very complicated finisher. The RKO fits him, and the way he does it, he doesn't do it the way Randy does. He doesn't do the open. He pulls him into right next to his face. And hits it. It's his own little touch.
To me, it's almost like
I don't know if it's intentional or if it's just something that's just naturally how he does it. It's like he's holding a football. Is what like he's trying to catch a football instead of like trying to
Yeah, the way he grabs reminds me of how DDP would set up the cutter, but with that added elevation of the surprise jump out of nowhere, Randy RKO.
Randy Classic.
Yeah, it's such a perfect combination of those two.
Riddle's athletic enough. He could rainbow cutter that.
Yeah.
Randy's really athletic, but his knees are bad. That's why you don't really see him doing a whole lot of jumpy doodahs. But Riddle could easily do some handspring or stuff like that. He has a lot of options to hit something out of nowhere. Like he could do a handspring RKO out of nowhere and just put somebody out.
And I think something that's cool about the storyline is as you watch it, you realize. I mean, it's not like they're hiding it, but seeing him adopt the RKO into his moveset is cool because the entire time it's felt like Riddle is a fan of Orton and he just wants to live.
Becoming Randy.
Well, he's wanting to basically like follow in Orton's footsteps in a very like sweet kind of way.
And sadly, following Randy's footsteps, you have to walk the other direction sometimes. And then turn right back around RKO, Randy.
The heel turn. Yeah, we both have talked about that. If we want RK Bro to end...
it's got to be Riddle, man.
Yeah.
That's what I want to see, and I want to see Randy smile after. Even though he got hit with RKO, Riddle turned on him. I want to see him smile.
Because it's such...
he should punt kick Randy.
Oh, no!
That's how Randy retires. He gets punt kicked.
It's such a given nowadays, though, to be like, lol, Randy turns on his teammate. Like, that's literally every team that Orton's ever been in except for Evolution.
He did it with a toenail in his cheek. Riddle and Mercedes.
But yeah, it is cool to see Riddle sort of, in a weird way, following in Randy's footsteps. And then a little bit after that, we got to see some more of the new-ish Judgment Day faction. Rhea Ripley joined on Backlash.
Edge's haircut.
Yeah, Edge's hair. That's the weirdest. That's weird. The weirdest thing is they have matching haircuts now, and Edge looks god awful with it. I'm not saying that Edge had to keep long hair, but
I think they cut his bangs a little too short because they spike up at the top of his head.
Yes.
Instead of laying back like how he wanted, they should have left his bangs long so he could put it all the way back.
Yeah.
Ain't no hate on Edge, he's a good looking dude, but
when we were rewatching it, he looks
a lot younger though.
Yeah, he does.
His eyeballs pop back out when he gets a haircut. I don't.
But when we were rewatching it, the thing that I noticed was when he does a spear, it spikes up and it makes him look like a porcupine.
He kind of looks like the kid from The Little Vampire a little bit.
I can see it, but
Hey Arnold.
Even though I'm not like, it's just a haircut, I'll get used to it. But then again, I've said that about his entrance.
Super Saiyan.
I hated his entrance at first. Now I love the new entrance. I am excited to see if this is going to. I am excited to see if this is going to go into a Bullet Club or whatever they're going to call it this time, the club or Balor Club. However they're going to go about it, I am excited to see if we're going to get more members.
I assume they could still do the Bullet. If they can do two sweets, like
I don't know because
Michael Cole says 2 sweet.
Yeah.
So I mean you think that would be,
but you got to think that's also an NWO thing. Yeah. So and the Bullet Club used to joke about the cease and desist stuff. Yeah. But I don't know if they can because
Kenny shows up, Bullet Club T-shirt, V triggers everybody.
Because if you remember though, when Kenny
Edge gets one winged angled onto something, breaks his neck again.
When Kenny brought back the pseudo Bullet Club in AEW and Impact, at a certain point they had to quit referring to themselves as that, and I don't know if that was because of legal issues with New Japan or what, because AEW has a really good working relationship with New Japan, but for some reason they quit bringing it up as often. So I do wonder how they'll refer to them, especially with the whole new stuff.
I'd say they'll call it something completely different. They'll do the 2 sweet thing, but it'd probably have club on the end.
Yeah,
but it'd probably be something.
I am wondering who the new, if we're gonna get more members. The most obvious person to join them is Cody because of the connection.
It would make a lot of sense.
But I don't see Rollins joining Edge.
Maybe later down the line if it becomes like Vince finally gets sold on factions, because I mean, I think he's building a faction of Edge. maybe somewhere down the line he finally get like I think now he is sold on the factions. He's seen how good they're doing. I'm thinking maybe it's one of those long term storytelling things.
Yeah.
Maybe they're actually doing something right for once, and they'll eventually they'll have Cody join along that line. It's like I guess the bloodline. You call it a faction, but it's more like a family with a lot of issues.
Speaking of the Cody Rollins stuff, though, Rollins attacks Cody, so that storyline is going to get furthered. I don't know how long they're going to keep it going. I'm enjoying it. I am enjoying it, but at the same time,
I think it's just filler, really, unless they give Rollins, which Rollins ain't had a belt in a while.
Yeah.
I mean, he really could, in order to be in that sort of position at Edge and then where they're all, this many times. They're not building anybody to be a person who's had a lot of belts.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe put a belt on him eventually, a long time down the road, because there's so many other, you got Drew, so many other people.
The biggest issue with the Cody Seth stuff right now, and I like that Seth is fixated on the fact that Cody beat him twice. But it's one of those things where I don't feel like either of them
are going to benefit.
Yeah, because neither of them can afford a loss.
They can't take more loss. Yeah, Cody doesn't need to lose until he drops the title.
Yeah, there's something.
If Cody or he goes against somebody who has the title and he feels down on himself, somewhere along that, like he gets screwed out of a, even if it's not like a non-title match, he gets screwed out of something.
Yeah,
it just kind of feels null right now. Which I know he has. Like, they have plans for him, but they just have to wrap up all these other ones. I just don't see a Cody and Drew McIntyre, or they decide to split the belts up again. I'm not sure how maybe that's the goal. Maybe Drew will end up with, because he's definitely going to be on the more WWE Championship side. He's the big Raw dude.
But then again, Cody has teased bringing back the Winged Eagle, so there's that possibility too. But really, and I've said this. If Cody's going to bring another belt back, another belt design back like he did with the IC.
He's definitely pedigree.
Yeah, I would love that. It doesn't make sense for me why they would want to bring back the Winged Eagle. Don't get me wrong, I love that design. But why would Cody bring that belt back when, for me, I would feel like the World Heavyweight, the big gold WCW belt would be way more in line with Cody.
Yeah, especially if it replaces the Universal.
Yeah, because that's, his father held that belt. He never held the Winged Eagle. It, to me, would make more sense if Cody does eventually win the world title.
Maybe have his own variation of the Universal. Instead of the big, maybe nobody's had a variation recently. Nobody.
Just the only one that I know of is the Fiend version.
Yeah, but that's a whole different episode.
Yeah.
We don't talk about
Poor
that.
Bray.
Hopefully he gets what he deserves and gets go to a good place too.
Yeah.
If he does go at WWE, hopefully he gets recognized as, okay, your ideas were good.
Yeah.
It seems like Vince is actually cooperating with his stuff. I think Edge has some leeway in that.
Yeah.
It seems like when he come back, things started to go a little bit better. Well, not when he come back. When he come back like the second or third time, because he come back got hurt immediately in the Randy match. That time, when he come back, I believe he's took a little more, because they were trying to build Damian Priest this whole different direction, but Edge is building him his own way, which is really good for Damian. Really good for him.
It's took him to a new direction, but it's been a positive direction on his career.
Like, you couldn't see him as a badass on his own at that point in time because he didn't have a personality. He didn't have really a dark, sinister personality. He was a baby, wasn't he? He was like an odd baby, but everybody booed him because they thought he was a heel.
Was he the one that tagged with Bad Bunny? I feel like maybe. But he did something like that. They did start adding in the whole thing of him having rage issues, which now makes sense because
and he looks like somebody that, okay, even though he's not, he's a big dude, don't get me wrong, but he's not like Kane big or something like that. That alone adds a lot better of a, take on him, like what he looks like. That looks like somebody, he looks like somebody that would have rage issues and go through these fits. Like, that's not saying anything towards his character in real life, just like as his wrestling persona. It's a really good add-on.
Yeah,
for him. He'll benefit a lot learning under Edge. Definitely. Anybody really would.
Moving past Raw though, we had we're filming this on Thursday, so we haven't seen Friday Night SmackDown. So there will not be a recap on SmackDown, but we're going to recap AEW Dynamite, and we finally got Danhausen making his in-ring debut.
Oh boy!
And
he got kneed twice.
It was a damn squash match, but it was so perfect.
I get it; they're protecting his leg. He's still hurt, and I get that's the but like Danhausen. I love the thing they did with Hook. I know that's the whole purpose of the match. Tony Nese is kind of irrelevant. He's going to get suplexed and red rummed, and that's going to be it. Unless he goes a completely different direction, goes against somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully that's what they mean by the whole internet meme thing. He goes after somebody else. He doesn't go after Hook, but I'm sure it's going to be a thing.
Mm-hmm.
But Danhausen, you watch some of his like ROH stuff, he's a very good wrestler and something not to be taken lightly.
He's different.
He's
very different.
He's very comedic, but not in a Santino Morello comedic. He's very comedic in a almost sinister way,
mm-hmm.
but not sinister. You know, like a sarcastic, sinister way.
But that Hook partnership now is just I'm loving it.
There's a reason CM Punk likes Danhausen so much. There's a reason there's a good Nighthausen. Like he's a very good wrestler.
Mm-hmm.
We'll see.
The Hook stuff though, because basically after the match, Tony Nese was continuing the assault on on Danhausen, and he couldn't defend himself. Hook runs down to defend Danhausen, and
1 second.
A phone call, sorry. But Hook runs down to try and help Danhausen. They shake hands, and so it's sort of this rock and sock kind of deal where you have this badass in Hook, and he has this lovable idiot as a best friend, and even though he doesn't want to admit it, he does like it.
Navi confirmed.
Then the biggest thing of the week, by far, the craziest freaking thing of all week, that Jeff Darby match. That was wow.
Their backs must really hurt.
Yeah.
All right, sorry about that again. Had a little issue with TV.
Yeah,
it's all good though.
we're working through the kinks.
We're working through some kinks. Might move it out of the basement soon enough. Back to Jeff Hardy and Darby killing each other.
Yeah, I can't quite remember where we left off, but essentially this whole match was a spot fest, but in the best possible way.
It was very good. It ended, as JR said, it ended with a wrestling move.
Yeah,
that was the best roll up I've seen in 10 years because all the other ones just suck and happen out of nowhere.
Yeah, this one made the most sense.
The rest are distraction roll up.
Mm-hmm.
This was a genuine roll up.
Roll up, and Darby was pinned from the ladder, so
protects
he couldn't.
Everybody.
Yeah, everybody looks good.
Their back did not look good. Neither one of them.
Yeah.
They looked terrible. By the end of that match, Jeff was redder than a tomato, and Darby's face paint was all gone, and it genuinely believe that was his real spine at the end of it.
I fully believe that that
was the craziest spot other than Mick Foley falling through the cage, which that was that was a real one, but other than Mick Foley sign, throw me off the top of the Hell in a Cell.
Yeah, the thing with all the Jeff Swantons in WWE, like the crazy ones, they always hid the mat because there was a mat because they were trying to protect him. This was just straight up Darby's body hitting steel.
It was a very good swanton for Darby.
It
had his own little, it kind of reminded me of the Brock Lesnar moonsault where it looked really clean until he landed on his neck.
Yeah.
But it was like, he was very straight in it, but he did it in a way that it looked really, really good. It was like his own swanton bomb.
I loved, and I'm a huge mark for Darby and Jeff. I loved the spot itself. I did not like the setup because Jeff essentially kind of rolled out of the ring and then got onto the chairs and then stood up before Darby finished doing the swanton. So it looked very clunky, but when you look at just Darby doing the swanton and killing himself and Jeff, more himself than Jeff, it's an amazing spot. It's pretty great.
Essentially, I get it. They did it that way to protect, Darby from seeming like a heel in a sense. Like, oh, he's gonna kill Jeff. More like he's doing this spot and it's happening.
Yeah. Plus,
but at least Jeff sold it in the Jeff manner of slowly crawl walking. I guess you could call it whatever he does when he he gets far into a match to where he got over to the chairs and was like wore out. At least Jeff's always been a really good sailor in that sense.
Yeah.
You know.
And again, it's one of those spots that it's not something you can't put disrespect to, because most of the time, if they were going to do a crazy spot like that, if it were any other person, including Jeff, it would have been on a table. But the fact that it was on chairs was insane.
The craziest thing I believe I've seen in a very, very long time.
Yeah, it was pretty wicked.
That was more crazy than the freaking the Travis Scott Jordans with the tacks in the bottom of them.
Then the spot, it wasn't as crazy as that, but Jeff doing a swanton onto the steps, the sideways steps. That would have been
crazy alone. That would have been a big spot.
Yeah,
that would have been the spot if that other spot wouldn't have happened.
Exactly. And
Darby, after doing the swanton on the chairs, let's just freaking do a coffin drop onto the quote-unquote hardest part of the ring. But
yeah, I completely forgot. I forgot about that part. Yeah.
I really would consider that the hardest part of the ring, because he hit the corner. Like, he didn't hit just the side there. He hit the corner of it.
The thing, I don't think I've ever seen Jeff attempt a swanton onto the steps like that either. That was very different.
Jeff seemed like he had a lot of energy in this match. So, I mean, he usually doesn't. He ain't had recently. You can tell he's like having that CM Punk effect where, like, when he come in, he was a little unsure. He was used to the way WWE worked, but now he's kind of like, he's comfortable. He knows he can do what he wants to do.
Yeah.
So it's working out really well for him. I feel like he's happier and he's got all this energy. He's actually moving fast.
Yeah.
He's going real sluggish. He's excited and he's happy about the fans and he's blowing them kisses at the end. He's just happy to be in an environment that is very similar to that same environment he had in his up and coming in those matches we've mentioned.
And this is such a good match to see, because essentially Jeff now gets to be that Undertaker, that Shawn, that Triple H for Darby.
If Punk didn't put Darby over, then Jeff definitely put Darby over.
Yeah, this was Darby in his element being put over.
Hey, sign your signature on it. I mean, that's that right there. That's hopefully, Darby don't take meds, so
yeah, that's true.
Hopefully he lays off for at least till the next
pay-per-view,
a pay-per-view, maybe the next 2 pay-per-views on something really huge. I can understand him going through like a coffin or something like that from the ring post. He's always going to do spots, but hopefully just nothing that, because he's sore than a board right now.
Yeah.
He is not in real good shape.
It's one of those things you just don't want to see him again. This is not trying to hate or slander Jeff, because we both love Jeff.
You don't want to see him go down that path.
Get
wrote something, not have any option other than to take it.
Yeah, and then just get completely addicted to it.
Jeff now, you see him, he's come back from it, which we don't want to see Darby go down that path.
Yeah.
Which I don't think he will. He's got a lot of self-control.
And I feel like
I think he's born with that thing where you can't feel pain. I swear, there's no way that man does the crap he does. And like, when he laid on the chairs, he was up a minute later going,
it's true.
Zombie noises like he does.
But for us, that was, I think we both agreed, that was like the match of the week. The match of a good little while, honestly, when it comes to excitement, and also it's just a match we've wanted to see.
AEW
as soon as Jeff showed up, we got to see it.
A lot of spot fests. Like, there's a lot of matches like, that's going to be a match to remember. Then you kind of forget about it after a while. Like, the only ones in recent memory I can really think of that I even, some of the 5-star classics, Kenny and Brian, that's a match to remember.
That was a great.
There's a lot of AEW matches that are really good that you're just not going to think about later because I don't know, because they just have so many good matches. This is one of those ones that's God. This is 10 years from now you're going to think about. Hey, remember when Darby Allin did a swanton bomb that Jeff freaking Hardy onto some chairs? That's
very true though with AEW. It's one thing like
everything's good, but at least you're always entertained every time you watch it. You just forget about everything.
Because with Raw, when you have one exciting match, you remember it. You're like, oh my gosh, I can't believe they did that on Raw.
But like Riddle hitting that RKO.
Yeah, that was
you
great.
Watch some indie show and everybody's doing RKOs and front flip RKOs just in a match, just joking around.
Yeah, and but when your product is that good every week, it just becomes harder and harder. And
That was a match that meant something.
Yeah, it definitely meant something. To both guys, you could tell.
Riddle hitting that RKO, it ain't just some random indie dude hitting an RKO. That meant something. Him doing that. So this has been an event, to say the least.
Yeah. But I think that just about does it for the first episode. Yeah, we had a couple hiccups, and like I said, we're gonna get more comfortable with doing.
TV did go out. Yeah. We had a few issues, but hey, hope you guys enjoyed. Hope y'all got to relax and chill out with us for a little bit.
And hopefully we're gonna get more situated with this and things like that. And it's we're wanting to progress. This isn't something where we're gonna stay the same. It's gonna progress, and we're gonna get better. We're gonna get bigger. We're hoping. We did hope to actually have audio and video for YouTube, but things messed up with the camera as well when we had to pause.
He grabbed the wrong SD card, and it's filled with somebody's truck.
Yeah, it just interesting things. So, but yeah, hopefully with the following episodes, we're gonna really try with this. We're hoping to deliver an entertaining product and something where the whole reason we do this is because it's two friends getting to bond over something they both love.
And get to relate to other people who have that same.
So yeah, it can be a bonding experience for all of us.
And I want to kind of hear what the old the old flarkies think about our opinions. I want to get argued with.
Oh yeah.
We got a few people that's going to come on the show to argue with us about how the old glory days were a whole lot better.
Yeah, we do. We do have an interview discussion type. Podcast coming soon.
See.
Yeah, you'll see. It'll be interesting.
There is one other special thing coming soon, but it's to be announced.
Yes,
thank you guys
to be announced.
So much.
Yeah, that about does it. We will see you guys in the next episode. Thank you for watching, and see you later.
This has been the PWP. Wait, what?
PWP podcast. Pro Wrestling Podcast.
Heck yeah. See you guys.
See you all.